The most unthinkable location is visited in Power Book 4, Force Season 3, Episode 9. Fans of Power Book 4, Force will be astounded by the hard decisions made in the penultimate episode of the Starz drama. Spoiler alert, Power Book 4, Force Season 3, Episode 9 spoilers are included. Power Book 4, Force's next-to-last episode seems unreal. Requiem had a slow beginning and a shocking conclusion for Starz fans. When one considers the entire Season 3 arc, it makes perfect sense, but it's a hard pill to swallow. Before a season, or, in this case, series, finale, every TV show builds suspense, but Force does it with its signature bravery. With more posturing on all sides and threats about who will do what to whom, the opening part of the episode seems to be a continuation of Episode 8. Jenard's half-baked proposal for the CBI to switch allegiance to the Marquez cartel is the only intriguing aspect of this story since it is such a terrible concept. Viewers of Power Book 4 are aware that it will not end well. However, this is just another illustration of the season's recurring theme, Jenard entering Diamond's mind, which is disastrous when Jenard's own mind is clouded by conceit and addiction. Requiem is a tragic slow-motion film. Diamond still lets his feelings for Jenard control his decisions. He even goes so far as to meet with Tommy in an attempt to mediate a settlement, but Tommy's only request is Jenard, which makes perfect sense given that Jenard killed Tommy's brother JP. Diamond, however, is unable to do it. When he finds out that Jenard attempted to murder Tommy's mother Kate, he is unable to even turn against Jenard. When Diamond tells Jenard about his sentiments and thoughts at the start of things, in a church setting, Power Book 4, Force shows why. Diamond is behaving out of love, despite what some viewers may think. And in the end, that love causes him to pass away. He dies on the church floor after stealing Tommy's bullets intended for Jenard. Isaac Keys had some fantastic last moments with both Joseph Sikora and Chris D. Lofton in the second half of the episode. Even though the audience isn't aware of it yet, they are farewell sequences. It's practically a series finale to hear Diamond question aloud how he and Tommy arrived at this point. It's good to offer the ex-partners a more subdued scenario that respects the fact that viewers supported Diamond and Tommy just as much as they loved Tommy and Ghost in the first Power. Additionally, it offers them an opportunity to make amends and a convincing justification for their inability to do so. At that time, fans are unable to criticize any of them. However, the fact that they make an effort demonstrates how close they are. However, aside from Tommy and Diamond, Requiem begins to conclude the plots of other characters. Che momentarily holds Miguel Garcia captive, putting him in a strange situation. It's intriguing to see Miguel, who is always the one giving instructions, on the defensive. Miguel, like Tommy and Diamond, has people he loves about and wants the best for, and Manuel Eduardo Ramirez has done a fantastic job of illustrating this. Tommy and Miguel's developing, if grudging, respect is demonstrated by the fact that Tommy has Shanti rush to get the money to Che so that Miguel can be set free. Speaking of Shanti, since Shanti is now on her own, Adrienne Walker has received some of her best work in recent episodes. Walker does a terrific job in the scene where Shanti meets Che and Che treats her disrespectfully because she is a woman. Shanti has the obvious ability to change the entire situation, but she chooses not to. As close to Power Book 4 as possible, Tommy's mother Kate also makes a comeback in this episode. Comic relief is achieved through Force. Despite her good intentions, Kate's statement that Tommy must feel your feelings is hilarious, and Sikora's response confirms it. In the midst of all the fighting and bloodshed, it's an incredibly embarrassing family moment. However, it's also a pleasant diversion from all of that. Vic Flynn gets on a plane for parts unknown with his new girlfriend Ray, which is a mediocre ending for him. On the one hand, it's disappointing that Shane Harper isn't in the final episode given how much Harper has contributed to the show. On the other hand, Vic on an island somewhere with Ray is preferable to Vic as a would-be crime boss. Additionally, it's nice that someone, somewhere in all of this chaos, gets a reasonably happy ending. Vic just needs to be seen in a post-credits shot on a beach complaining about a margarita. Naturally, everything is on the table because the Power Book 4 series conclusion is coming up next. Will D-Mac survive the gunfight that claimed Jenard's life? For what reason was Mireya attempting to purchase a one-way ticket to Mexico? After all the time this season, particularly in this episode, Mireya has claimed to be at peace with Tommy's work. This is the least plausible of all the story twists. However, it's left ambiguous, so perhaps there's more to that tale. And how far will actor Chris D. Lofton go because Tommy vs. Jenard is the new endgame? Although it is surprising that Jenard is Tommy's last challenge, his survival while Diamond passes away makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Since all of the characters' allegiances have burned to the ground, it makes sense that being loyal at this point would result in death. Diamond died for his brother, while JP died for his loyalty to D-Mac. War Requiem reduces everything to family rather than drugs or power. And Power Book 4, Force hasn't received enough recognition for it. Gary Lennon and the cast have always done a fantastic job of preserving those human moments in the midst of the chaos, even though it's a crime drama and audiences want the gangster storylines. Even though Episode 9 simply tore it out once more and trampled on it, this program has a heart that similar shows lack. They couldn't go into it with so many loose ends with just 1 hour remaining because they wouldn't have been able to satisfactorily handle everything. Something had to give, then. The Sampson brothers were that something. That's not to argue, however, that spending this hour delving into the brothers' complicated past guarantees that everything will finish in the way we want it to or in a way that makes us happy. It was still a crucial aspect of the narrative, though, and I believe they largely succeeded in providing a satisfying conclusion. There may be a number of things that immediately spring to mind when you reflect about Diamond and Jenard's relationship. The scene in Power Book 4, Force Season 1 Episode 1 where Diamond was released from prison and Jenard was waiting for him, beaming, comes to mind for me. The brothers immediately struck me as being precisely that, brothers. And that's something that's frequently discussed throughout the Power franchise, with different pairs of men who are connected by friendship or family claiming the title as though it has inherent significance. The best illustration of that is undoubtedly Ghost and Tommy, whose bond was so strong, entwined, and special that it transcended simple friendship. I thought it was deeper than that. However, they were not blood, regardless of how near they were. And that difference is important. Because Diamond and Jenard are related by blood, they are bound together by the memories, both positive and negative, that come with being a part of the same family and knowing someone for a lifetime. We only witnessed the two's generally tumultuous relationship and how much of their perceived problems appeared to be directly related to CBI, from its founding to Diamond's incarceration to their precarious position in the larger Chicago drug trade. Their brotherhood was continually put to the test, and Jenard in particular had a great deal of animosity for his brother, which drove him to heights he probably never would have thought possible. Like many people in the world, Jenard is a narcissist by nature, but he also exhibits extreme insecurity, which was evident when his relationship with Shanti broke down. And even when he killed JP. You give him even a small amount of personal information, and all of a sudden you have a bullet in your skull. Diamond is more deliberate and meticulous than Jenard, yet he is equally deadly. Instead of acting rashly and having to spend time cleaning up, he would prefer to approach a problem with a plan. However, when he, you guessed it, paired up with Jenard again, we witnessed some of that impulsivity show up. I had hoped that Diamond wouldn't blindly follow Jenard's lead after Shanti alerted him to Jenard's deceit in Power Book 4, Season 3 Episode 8 and discover that Jenard had been subtly manipulating him. However, after Jenard told Diamond why he killed JP and why the RDs were going to be on their ass, Diamond hardly resisted before choosing to intensify all of Jenard's foolishness and collaborate with Ortega on top of it. That's when I realized it was time for Diamond to leave. Jenard's only goal was to protect himself. He killed JP, King Kilo, and that other man out of pure rage and a sense of disrespect. I'll give him credit for turning the tide in his favor to intensify his efforts to get rid of Tommy, but that was more of a coincidence than a planned move. Flipping the RDs against Tommy was quite simple because there were no witnesses. However, I did appreciate that everyone was so wary of Jenard because he frequently exudes an air of total incompetence, especially when he's not feeling well. When he is blindly trusted, I detest it. And unlike Cha, they now had the support of a cartel that wanted Tommy dead thanks to Ortega. They had everything set up for success, so something was certain to go wrong. However, Before things went awry, we heard a number of exasperating exchanges between the brothers. We witnessed Diamond's decision to put Jenard's protection ahead of his own at some point throughout the trip, and it was evident for the entire hour. Jenard had plenty of chances to be honest with Diamond about almost anything. Jenard continued to lie while he was sincere and honest in a way we haven't seen from Diamond this season. Diamond was determined to save Jenard, and it cost him his life, but I really needed him to wake up and know that he couldn't. Without Raheem's intense love for Shanti, the church ambush would never have succeeded, and it nearly failed because D-Mac is still such a liability. Like many people on this show, he has strong emotions, but he's not Tommy. Tommy can be driven solely by his feelings, but he still manages to succeed via sheer luck and determination. D-Mac acts impulsively and does things like murder Marshall. D-Mac would never be killed by Marshall. He actually thought their friendship could endure them being on opposing sides of a gang war, so he turned his back on him in that kitchen, but he greatly misjudged D-Mac's instability. It's not that I think he shouldn't have killed Marshall because Marshall turned out to be a good friend, but did he really need to? Marshall was not a threat as a person, but CBI might have been. The ease with which he flipped the switch is a little unsettling, but then again, he is connected to Tommy. He nearly killed himself inside the church by firing carelessly, yet it won't serve as a warning at all.